What's going on, guys? Back at it again with another Ember build for you guys here on the channel. This one in particular I am calling the Feline Protector, and that is because she is a sword and board tank. Guys, to my surprise, this build ended up being a lot better than I expected. So stay tuned if you guys want to see how this build worked out. Before I jump into the build, however, I do want to say that I am going through her entire quest line on my Let's Play channel. A link to that channel is going to be in the description down below. If you're interested while you're over there, do me a huge favor, subscribe to that channel because it really does help that channel grow. And while you're here, if you're excited for this specific video, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because it really does help this channel grow. So enough yapping for me, guys. Let's go ahead and see what she has to offer us. Alright guys, so I want to start off by talking about her Khajiit passives, right, or skills in the passives. So basically what she does is increases critical chance by 3% and damage done by 3%. Because of this, I initially thought that she was not going to be a great companion until I realized that her skills more than make up for the lack of passive advantage. So just because she is more tailor-made for a DPS type of role doesn't necessarily mean, in this specific instance, that she is going to be bad, which you guys will see in this video when we go fight a world boss. She did a fantastic job doing everything she needed to do in the tanking capabilities. So don't worry about the fact that her passive is essentially more made for DPS, because trust me when I'm telling you this, it really wasn't that relevant for this specific build. In terms of her actual skills, however, the obvious one here is the number 1 slot, which is Provoke. This is from the Sword and Board skill line, and it reads as: Ember thrusts their weapon with disciplined precision at an enemy, dealing 3,785 physical damage and taunting the enemy to attack them for 15 seconds. The cooldown is 12 seconds. Now, although it does a little bit of damage at 3,785 physical damage, really that's not why you have this slotted. If you're going to be running anybody as a tank, you need a taunt, and that is essentially what this skill is a taunt, which is absolutely imperative. This is single-handedly the most important skill to have for any specific sword and board type of tank. So, highly recommend this. Couldn't recommend this more, seeing as you are not really a tank without a taunt, and that's exactly what this is. Moving on to the second skill, Hurricane Visage. Hurricane Visage reads as: Ember manifests themselves as pure lightning, zapping enemies nearby with electricity, dealing 3,780 shock damage over 8 seconds. While in this form, their damage taken is reduced by 20%. Now, the first half of this is the same concept as the Provoke, right? This isn't really slotted for the slight DPS advantage that it has, which deals 3,780 shock damage over 8 seconds. Although that is helpful in the DPS department, really the reason why you have this is because the second half of this, which says that it reduces damage taken by 20%. Anything that's going to help the survivability of your companion is imperative for a tank build, seeing as they're going to be getting dished out a lot of damage. They're going to be taking a beating, so anything that can reduce damage or increase your health is absolutely imperative. Or, as you guys will see in a second, a damage shield, which I think this is a fantastic skill, by the way, especially seeing as the cooldown is an average 12 seconds, so that's something to enjoy about this specific skill as well. Highly recommend this one as well, guys. In the number 3 slot, On Guard. Ember bolsters their defenses, granting damage shield that absorbs up to 25% of their max health for 6 seconds. Guys, this skill is a fantastic skill to have slotted in terms of a damage shield, because it is bolstered by the amount of max health, which we will get into gear in a second. But the more health that you have, the more effective this specific skill is. And trust me when I'm saying is that this skill is very useful for our specific build. Reason for that being, you'll see once we get into our gear. Again, this is a fantastic skill, and the fact that it's only an 8-second cooldown, you will actually see her use this skill quite often, therefore making it an imperative skill for this specific build. As you guys can see, there's a lot of survivability already in this build, making it an actual pretty effective tanking setup, in my opinion. In the number 4 slot, we have Entomb. Ember uses binding magic to immobilize enemies in front of them for 4 seconds and heal themselves for 11,025 health over 8 seconds. So not only does this do a little bit of crowd control in terms of the immobilization for 4 seconds to every enemy in front of her, but it also heals in a heal over time for 11,025 health over 8 seconds. This is a great survivability skill, while simultaneously also being a great crowd control skill. Great to have slotted, if nothing else, for the heal itself. Highly recommend this, guys. The only real downfall to this is that it has the slightly higher than average cooldown of 16 seconds. So because of that, this heal ends up being less than spectacular, but it really does do the job regardless, which you guys will see once we go take on a world boss. Last but not least, in terms of the regular skills, we have Sharded Wards. Ember conjures wards made of energy for protection, granting a damage shield for them and their nearby allies that absorbs 3,675 damage for 6 seconds. Targets affected by the damage shield are also healed for 3,672 health over 8 seconds. So this is going to be one of your main skills for Ember to heal herself in her survivability. So not only does it give you, or her and yourself by the way, a damage shield of 3,675 damage for 6 seconds, it also everybody that's affected by the damage shield itself is also healed by 3,672 health over a period of 8 seconds. Again, this is just yet another survivability tool for her to have. And you guys will see this, she really is pretty tanky, and I really was pleasantly surprised by this because I really wasn't expecting much out of this specific build, if I'm being completely honest. To my surprise, I was very wrong. In terms of her ultimate, Raging Storm. Ember creates a thunderstorm that follows the target, striking all enemies within for 14,419 shock damage every 1 second for 8 seconds. The final strike deals 300% additional damage to enemies under 25% health. This is more of a DPS skill in my opinion, so it's not really as relevant for her as a tank. However, if you are tanking against a boss that does have, I guess, adds that like to spawn, this skill could very much come in handy, especially if she's focusing on the actual boss itself and has a lot of adds around him. This is going to attack everybody in that storm, which is a pretty big storm. And you guys will see it later on. She will be using this quite often. Nonetheless, I am a very big fan of this skill, this ultimate, but more so on a DPS build, if I'm being completely honest. But it is somewhat useful in this specific build. For this build though, the main skills are going to be your bread and butter. But with that being said, let's go ahead and check out her gear. In terms of gear, I like to gear up my companions in the same fashion that I gear up myself. What I mean by that is I like to, whenever you're building a character for yourself, you like to go with 2 5-piece sets and a 2-piece monster set. Monster sets really aren't a thing for companions, so we'll just replace that for just a typical 2-piece set. In terms of the 2-piece, which is head and shoulders, I ended up going with 2 pieces of heavy bolster just to have a little bit of damage reduction. You can flex this out for vigorous if you want to go for vigorous. I figured that I have enough max health as it is, so I just decided to go with a little bit of damage reduction instead, which reduces your damage taken by 1.7% per piece equipped, assuming you have purple gear. In terms of the first 5-piece set on your body, I went with 5 pieces of heavy vigorous, which increases your max health by 2.6% per piece slotted. All in heavy, of course, as I stated before. Vigorous increases max health by 2.6%, assuming that you're wearing purple gear. This is a big thing to have slotted because of your damage shields, or your on guard, for example, that scales off of your max health, giving you a higher damage shield. Very, very, very important to have vigorous on this build because of that specific reason. And as far as your last 5-piece set, I went with, again, vigorous for the jewelry, which again increases max health by 2.6%, and in terms of weapons is the exact same thing. Sword and shield, vigorous. So with that being said, that's pretty much the gear. Let's go ahead and go over to the house and see what she is rocking in terms of her fashion. Alright guys, in terms of fashion, I actually just kept it very simple and am using Saji sailing apparel. This is an crown shop item. I thought it looked fantastic just the way it was, so I didn't actually go for any dyes. However, you can experiment yourself and, you know, switch it up a little bit and see what you guys like. Personally speaking, I like the way it looked by itself, so I decided to just keep it the way it was. In terms of weapons, I went with Khajiit Sword 4, and in terms of dyes, I went with Marble White and Palatine Coral. I think it looks okay. In terms of the shield, I went with Pyre Watch Shield, Marble White, Palatine Coral, and Palatine Coral, and I think it looks fantastic, especially when you have it alongside with the outfit itself. I think altogether it looks fantastic, but I'll let that decision be up to you guys. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think of her actual fashion. With that being said, let's go see if we can find a world boss to solo. Solo really is subjective in this, suggestive in this specific situation, mainly because as long as she keeps aggro, it doesn't really matter if anybody tags along to help fight the boss. So as long as she is surviving, that's really all I care about for this specific, I guess, quote-unquote solo. But specifically, it's going to be really hard right now because there's an event going on and there's a lot of players going around fighting bosses and things like that. So let's cross our fingers and see if we can actually solo the world boss. But that being said, let's go ahead and jump over there and see what's going on. And there you have it, guys. The Feline Protector has officially been completed here on the channel. As you guys saw, she did a fantastic job at keeping herself alive while simultaneously keeping Taunt up, therefore giving us the opportunity to do everything that we needed to do to finish off the world boss. She ended up being a fantastic build, guys. I do highly recommend this build if you guys wish to play as Ember or have Ember as a companion and simultaneously having her as a tank. This was a great build, had a lot of fun building it. If you guys enjoyed it, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because it really does help this channel grow. So with that being said, catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.